Good morning from Vietnam, Lori. Thanks a lot for spending your time with us. And on behalf of the listener around the world, I want to say thank you for your kindness. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that we can connect, that technology can bring us together and that we can share stories together.
Yes. And since you haven't been to Vietnam, please accept my invitation. Next time, if you decided to travel to Asia, make sure you go to Vietnam. And we would love to take you, your family, your friends, anyone to come here with you to show our town and the beauty of our country.
Yeah, I would love it. I'm always excited to learn more about people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different areas, because I haven't traveled internationally very much, and it just amazes me, you know, the similarities that you can have and be completely across the world, right? It's and from a perspective of faith, right? We all have we all have Jesus in common. So
Yep. And for a little taste of our culture, it's a great honor if we can have you to share a little bit about who you are and the work you are doing. Can you do it first, please?
absolutely. So currently, I am the executive director and CEO of Biblical Business Training, and that is a nonprofit based in St. Louis, Missouri, in the United States. And we help to provide biblical principles to people in the workplace. And how we do that is through small group Bible study. And my journey was God orchestrated, and I can tell you a little bit more about that. But so as we talked previously, that I have the amazing gift of being able to connect with people all across the world and help them to have the tools and resources to do Bible study and apply it to the work they do every day. So it's really an amazing opportunity to meet with all types of people from all different backgrounds and all different workplaces. But we have one common thing where we study the Bible together and then put it into action at work.
So
So
study
that's what I
Bible
do.
together. Yeah, study Bible together and put it to action. It works, right?
Yeah.
You have a phenomenal journey with working with a lot of amazing people around the world, right? You introduced to us in less than 60 seconds, and it's not fair for our audience. So we're gonna dive in together to learn
Yeah.
it a lot deeper. Shall we?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Yeah. All right. Let's travel time with me, Laurie. Let's go back in time. When I was little, I always wanted to become an astronaut. So it seems really cool to wear the suit and then jump in different planet, right? But life didn't give me any chance to do the things that I loved doing back then, right? So for Laurie, when you was little, what was your dream about your future self, and the works you're gonna do?
Oh my goodness, I have to think back. Well, I think at one point I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Mm.
Another point, this was probably in high school, I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Ah.
Um, and so I actually entered college wanting to become a pediatrician. And then chemistry and I did not get along in my studies. And so I went on a different path. And after talking to my advisor, he said, you should maybe look into something more, stay with people, right? But maybe something like communications or something of that nature. And marketing was where I landed. And so I studied at business school and really dug into how marketing interacts with people, forms those relationships, and through various jobs that I had as a student, it morphed into working with people through the marketing field. And so I still get to interact with people like I wanted to be a doctor, but now it was, more of the consumer or the how do you reach people for a company and so on. And so, it's funny how as kids we think one thing and then life and God gives us a whole nother plan, right?
Yes, yes. And how that journey took place from graduating in marketing and then take your place into you become a CEO, executive director at BBT.
Yeah. So yeah, biblical business training is short. BBT is short for that, and so it's really God had His hand in it, and I always say He's the best connector. So I get my marketing degree. I go to work actually for the university where I received my bachelor's degree, and ended up meeting a lot of executives because the business school put on a lot of speakers and so on, and came to form relationships with some of them, right? Seeing them often because they would come back to campus to recruit from their businesses. I got to know a lot of the other alumni and so on. So not only did I work for the college, but I was also an alum with the people who came back. And as I was approaching moving from the college, my husband got a new job in St. Louis from where we were at the university. And I reached out to one of those alums and I said, I'm moving to St. Louis. Where should I look for a job? And he said, why don't you come work with me in commercial real estate? And I said, I have a marketing degree. I know nothing about real estate other than I bought a house, right? He's like, no, I'll teach you the business. And what's funny is it was actually the founder of BBT. Brandon Mann was, somebody I saw often on campus. He recruited from there. And he was the one I called to say, where should I look? And so I went to work with him in commercial real estate as my job after academics. And what happened there was seeing him form the nonprofit called BBT today, and really just understanding how he was integrating his faith and work. And so I saw the inception of BBT as I was working within the commercial real estate landscape with him. And when God called him out of commercial real estate to start the nonprofit, that's a big step. And he would always say, well, you should come work for me at the nonprofit. And I would kind of laugh and say, that's your thing, not mine. I'm on the CMO track here, right? I want to get to the head of the marketing department here in commercial real estate. And it wasn't until, we were a regional firm for a long time, and then we merged with the coast to make more of a United States spread platform. And then we merged to become global, and it was a lot. And I was struggling to figure out what's next for me. And in that time, I was actually doing Bible study with Brandon, the founder's wife of BBT. And she was praying that she would transition to the next person who should take over marketing for the nonprofit that they helped to start. And I was praying to figure out what was next for me in my career. And Brandon came to me and said, you should really come work for me at BBT. And, through lots of prayer, and it was actually my husband who said, make the switch. Like, I think this is what God's calling you to do. And so that was almost 8 years ago in 2 days. So February of 2016, I left corporate America to work for BBT, the nonprofit. So what happened in that transition was working with the same individual that brought me into corporate, but we had a different purpose, right? We're always working for God, right? We all should be working for God, but our focus was to help people in their relationships with God and how they could apply their faith to their work through what they're studying in the Bible and doing so in a small group format. And so working under him as the CEO, and then another CEO who came in a few years later as he transitioned that role, excuse me, I learned from leadership. And, in a small nonprofit where there's 3 or 4 employees, you learn all the jobs because if someone's out sick or someone's out for whatever reason, you pick up where they left off. And so I kind of knew most of what the business was. I just wasn't the one signing on the on the line, right, for all the things that a leader does. And so it wasn't until let's see, 2021, the summer of 2021, when the second leader of BBT stepped away for another opportunity, that God tapped me on the shoulder and said, you can do this, right? You can lead this nonprofit. You've seen it from every angle. You've worn every hat, right? I saw it from inception. I was a participant in Bible study. I was a leader in Bible study. I came on as staff. I worked with both of the executive directors and CEOs before me. But it was a very scary thing to say, well, but then it's all on me, right? I'm the one making the big decisions, right? I have a great team that is just phenomenal. Just God gifted them with so many great skills, but it's still like I'm the one that if this doesn't go right, it's me, not them. So after lots of prayer and kind of getting my bearings a little bit more, I was in the interview process and selected and really could hit the ground running, because there was no transition time of learning what BBT was, or understanding who are those that we serve and how do we raise funds and so on and so forth. I knew all of that. So the transition was very easy for me to make that switch. And it's just been a wonderful journey. Again, my team has changed a little bit. I have 2 new team members this year. So we're a team of 4, but they're just phenomenal. Totally gifted in all the areas that we need, but can work together and cross train. So it's just God put me on this path, right? He brought me to all these places, right? The change to marketing, hey, you're going to be in real estate. Oh, wait, you're going to be in a nonprofit now. And just trusting and having perspective, right? Looking back and saying, okay, I did this because I do this now at BBT, or, he really prepared me for such a time as this.
I want to bring you to the 8 years, 2 days ago, and the 2 days, right? A lot of us in life have that calling, right? But a lot of us also reluctant to respond to the calling, or refuse to accept the calling, and then it takes a long time until the next calling, right? So 8 years ago in 2 days, you decided to leave the corporate America, right? The CMO path onto joining the BBT. So we want to know, in that period, what was in your head, when you have to face with that calling.
Yeah, thinking back, I'm not really sure what was in my head. I remember sitting down with my husband and saying, there's something missing. There's something missing in what I'm doing. No fault of the company. It's not my team. I just don't know what my purpose is anymore. I'm not walking into work feeling fulfilled. And so I really had, a moment of discernment of what do I want to do next. So I had this time of discernment and really thought and prayed about it with my husband of, what should I be doing? Is this, do I just stick this out and figure out that maybe I'm just in a funk, or do I have a change of career or a change of company and what have you? And what's funny is, again, it's God's timing, not mine, that, I'm discerning and I'm deciding, okay, I'm it was towards the end of the year. I think I had some time off, and I thought, well, I'm going to brush up my resume, see what's out there. If not, I can stay, right?
Mm.
Um, because I know what I'm doing. I like the people I work with. That the company is growing. There's no reason I have to leave, right?
Mm.
But as I brushed up my resume, it really helped me look deeper at what have I done, what can I do, what do I want to do, and through that process, really just trying to understand what God had gifted me with. And then it was in the new year that I got the phone call. As like I said, I was praying in Bible study about what do I do next. That Brandon and his wife through BBT called me to say, hey, we have a proposition for you. We think you should come work for us.
Mm.
And it was in that I still had discernment time. Brandon said, there's no rush in giving us a decision. Take your time, figure out the right timing for you and your family. And like I said, it was my husband who said, you don't feel fulfilled. You have a great offer on the table. I'm not sure what it looks like to work for a nonprofit, but he said, I think you should make the switch. And it was really just looking at, where God was leading me, right?
Mm.
I probably would have applied a bunch of places and tried to figure out what I wanted, but God interjected and said, hey, you know what? We need you to make this change, and here's why. And so, it's one of those things where I do miss people I used to work with, but I've never really looked back. Where he put me with BBT is the path that he called me to be on. And, again, until you have that time to reflect or have perspective on it, you can sometimes miss it. And believe me, I probably should have made that transition a lot sooner,
Mm.
but God has to tell me things more than once, right? I had
Uh-huh.
a couple of interviews in the process where I was close. I could have taken the job, and I thought, something's just not right here. And again, it was that Holy Spirit saying, this isn't the right move, right?
Mm.
And so really just being in tune with what his plan is, having that prayer time to figure out, is this the right step? And there was such clear direction when it came to the BBT option
Mm.
that, mostly it was about timing. There was no rush, all those kind of things. But then I got to a point where I said, yeah, I just need to make this change. So,
Wow. I bet that Brandon and his wife are having a lot of people in their networks, right? And so, did you ever talk to them and asking them and ask them why did they choose you for that position, and why did they choose you to join their organization?
that is a great question. I've not asked them that direct question, but you bet I'm going to. My assumption, because not in so many words, they have shared this with me that, in working with Brandon in corporate, he saw the values I brought to
Mm.
work. He saw my work ethic. He saw my faith, right? It may not have been as strong then as it is
Mm.
now, but he saw all the potential and all of the gifts that God had given me. And so, and again, Lisa his wife, Lisa, being in Bible study with me, she saw the true, not that I had a mask or anything like that, but she saw more of my character than she would have just being, the founder's wife or, a coworker's wife's perspective. And so, again, she and I are very similar in our
Mm.
background. She had a marketing advertising background and so on. And so it was a good fit based on what they needed. I've worked with them before. again, they had a huge network that they could have chosen from, but again, just having that relationship, and it all goes back to relationships, really, but also having that experience and perspective, and knowing them well, them knowing me well, and so on.
Beautiful. And I think if we go back in time, it's amazing that you also made the first phone call to him right after you left the university, right? And asked
Yeah.
what to do, right?
Right.
And there was also a lot of struggle back then for you, because when he offered a new industry, becoming in the real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow that he taught you, right, the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and becoming the bonding happened from there. So
Yeah.
you back then you could do all other kind of works, all other industry. What is that in Brandon that made you join him and learn a new industry?
Yeah, I think he has said this well before, that I was a culture fit and he could teach me the business, right? And so again, it was at the university, me working with a lot of executives and speakers and forming those relationships with them. That's really what drives me. Is, when I look back at all the different jobs I've had. I worked for the football team at the college, and then I worked for the College of Business, then working in real estate, and now with BBT. It really is centered around intentional relationships. I actually wrote a chapter in a book, Intention, Deconstructing Grit, this past year, about that journey and what that means in those relationships. And it really is about, we joke in my family that I've never met a stranger, because I can talk to anyone, I can know all about them, and I'm probably either related to them, went to college with them, or know them somehow, right? It's, I just have this knack for connecting with people, however that might be. And so in that journey, right, getting to know Brandon as a fellow alum, but also as a business associate within the college, and then him understanding my character and my he will say, when he would come to events at the college, I'd be the first face he'd see, and we'd strike up a conversation, and then I'd also be at the next thing, and so you learn from people, and you see where they're coming from, and who they are, and how they interact, and so I think that's really kind of where all of that came from, was just those interactions, of being there, and also just being intentional with people, and really trying to understand them, and relate to them, but also help to serve them, right? I mean, that's in all of those capacities, right? I was serving those who are coming either as speakers or coming to see the speakers, commercial real estate, right? I was in business development, so it was, we served the client, but I also have a team that I'm serving them with, providing them with the materials to serve that client. And same with BBT, providing those tools for Bible study, through curriculum and through a technology and through a coach, to give them free resources, because we have donors that believe in our mission. And so it's forming those relationships, and creating that ability to really serve where you are.
So if our audience, if they want to get, connect with you and learn from BBT, how can they approach you?
Yeah, so we can most be found on LinkedIn. It's, when you're talking working people, and helping them apply the Bible, I mean, working people are on LinkedIn. So you can find me as Lori Drury on LinkedIn. BBT is also on there, so we're Biblical Business Training. You have to write it out.
Mm,
But we also have a podcast called Safe for Work podcast,
mm,
and it's on all of the major platforms where we share stories of our group leaders, how they're integrating faith and work, but also thought leaders, our board members. Our team shows up on episodes as well. And then also, we're out there on the website. So it's b-b-t.org and has all the information about our studies, about how to get connected and start a group, as well as what our coaching offerings are. And then, of course, our donors go there to support our mission as well.
absolutely. So b.b.t.org, right? ORG, and then I'll follow you on LinkedIn. Yes. Alrighty. Okay. I want to bring you to another one. I want to say congratulations for the successful of the book, Intention, the Constructing Grit collection, right? And through my interview with a lot of leaders around the world, there's two things that they regret not yet doing. So the first was to start their own business because they've been leading successful organizations around the world. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have time to start their own business, right? Yet. So the second one was writing a book, sharing their stories, mm-hmm. sharing their experiences. And I always told them that, it will come one day. So for you, Lori, since when you decided to write that book since when? Yes.
Okay. So it's actually been a couple of years in the making. So the Deconstructing Grit series, let's see, I was book 4 of 5, and got to know the original author collaborator of it several years ago through another organization we were involved in. And she would ask me, again, like I said, God has to tell me things more than once. She would ask me every time she'd start a new book, hey, do you want to be in this one? And I'm like, hey, I just became this, the executive director and CEO of BBT. I don't know that I have time for that this year. Or this is a really busy season, or I'm not really feeling the topic. And so I would always say, when intention comes around, let me know. And so when it did, it was last year, actually, around this time, that she reached out, and God said, okay, now's the time. You're never going to have time to fully invest. You're just going to have to do this, and this is your topic. And so the interesting part about it is, I'd envisioned, okay, here's what I'm going to talk about. Here's my journey. I'm going to talk about this because I've talked about it before. I just need to spruce it up, make it appropriate for the book. And I was having writer's block. Even though I had the content mostly, I was having writer's block. And I looked at my husband one day and I said, I'm going to go for a walk and write this. And he looked at me dumbfounded and he said, you're going to go for a walk? I don't go for walks in the middle of the day. When I exercise, it's very planned. It's in the morning, those kind of things. So he's like, okay, all right, like, have fun. So I went on a walk and voice to text my entire chapter. And I mean, it was total Holy Spirit moment, just stream of consciousness. Here's the story. And of course I had to clean things up and maybe move some things around, but it was completely different than what I started with on a sheet of paper that I thought I already had it down. I just needed to clean it up, to going for a walk and completely rewriting it and coming back to my writing coach, telling her about it, sending her the draft, and she said, it's perfect. Wow. I said, wow, okay, wait, that's not what I expected. I just literally spit out the words as they were coming to me, cleaned it up, and that's what it became today. And so it was something that, like you said, people always say, start a business or write a book. It was a great entry point into writing a book without having a full book in front of you. and the fact that I could do it with 39 other women, 40 of us coming together to collaborate on a topic, but vastly different stories. But when you read them, you connect with these women so much. I mean, you know about this woman before you even meet her because you read the story and can just either relate or give your heart to her because you now understand what she's been through and who she is today. It was just an incredible journey. Plus the fact that you can become an international bestseller because you have this great collaboration of other authors coming together to promote this book. And so it's still a surreal process for me. Next week, I'm on a grit spiritual diversity panel with my fellow authors. I mean, it's just an incredible opportunity to connect with people and have more reach out there. I actually joke with my husband. You had mentioned, people want to start their own business. And I said that one time when we were having a kind of an annual couples retreat of what do you want to do in 5 years or in 10 years, those kind of questions. And I said something about starting my own business. And he looked at me, again, just like, wait, what? Where did that come from? And I said, well, I know I didn't start BBT, but I'm running a business and never thought I'd be in that space. So someday it'd be great to start my own business, see it from the ground up and so on. So I'm, a degree from each of those things you mentioned, starting your own business while I run a business and write a book while I wrote a chapter. So both could be a possibility for a full completion in the future.
God has planned for you, right? So
for sure.
Yeah.
And he'll have to tell me a couple times, but I'll get it eventually.
Yeah. So he has to tell you a couple of times, but you're gonna respond to his request.
Yep.
Okay. He's calling for you.
Yep.
And Lori, I have two last questions for this beautiful conversation with you. And in this conversation, you mentioned the word thinking a lot. Think, right? My wife and I, we are a quest to help people to improve their ability to think. And the reason was because we believe that our thinking capability these days is diminishing. So there's a lot of noises, there's a lot of things out there that make us think not clear, all right? And if we can learn from experts, the one who thinks well, the one who really improve their ability to think or help people to think better. So we, when share those practices, so whoever listens to the conversation will be able to pick up something and learn to improve their ability to think. That would be wonderful. So Lori, over the years, how have you been improve your ability to think?
I'll go back to saying it's putting people around me that help me think, right? Help me think outside the box, help me think differently, push me to think beyond. As you said, there's lots of distractions, there's lots of noise. And so being able to filter through that, but also when you're thinking to be able to hear the right voices. And so it goes back to that discernment, that time with learning from God, listening to Him, so that it can help clarify your thinking. As I said, asking others, whether it's in your circle of influence, it's your personal advisory board, whatever it might be, to help you think through things. We kind of joke on our team that we think out loud, together collectively. So whatever style works for you, thinking out loud, thinking with imagery or a whiteboard. But for me, it's starting the conversations with people about something that I'm thinking about, right? That there's a lot of thoughts and things going through my head on a daily basis. I did this just with my team this morning in a team meeting. I said, I'm struggling to think about this. And as we started talking about it, the ideas started flowing. And so sometimes it's verbalizing those thoughts to get more thoughts to come. And so I don't know that anyone has one right way or wrong, but if you find that process that helps to get that flowing or get the thoughts out of your head, that's one thing as a leader. You may have those 2 a.m. moments where you're thinking about something, write it down somehow. Whether it's, they say don't pick up your phone in the middle of the night, right? It'll mess up your sleep. But, figure out a way that you can capture that, because then, you get that out of your head. And that's actually a term we talk about on our team is get the thoughts out of your head, right? Whether it's you have to jot down some notes and share it with the team, or have that verbal processing of your thoughts, so then you can keep that processing going. That's kind of how I operate, and the team knows it. So they'll say, I know you have an idea about this, either paint done, to use Brene Brown's term, right? Paint done, or, get the thoughts out and let's talk about them.
So talking with people to get your thinking and the thought out of your head, and then discuss from there. I like the words you put in here, pushing, have people push the idea and make it happen, right? So amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Last is about the future. So we know your past, the dream when you had when you was young, want to become a pediatrician at college, and then life took you to different paths. Now you're the CEO at BBT, right? Then is there anything at all that is there anything exciting you want to share with us about the upcoming things that you are about to do, so that we can celebrate with you in advance?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I have a couple of new team members, and the coach on staff, Jay, comes from South Africa and now lives in the States, but he has a big vision to have 150 groups by the end of 24, and that would be our biggest growth year at BBT. And again, I don't talk just about me when it comes to BBT. It's a team effort, and it's a team dynamic that we're all working together for that goal, right? So, really my expectations are we can get more dots on the map around the globe. We're working with folks in India. We're working with folks in Africa. We're having conversations with people in ministries in the Dominican Republic. We have group members that are in Europe. And so really expanding that reach. The 150 goal is fabulous. People will ask me, do you have this grand vision from God of the number of groups? He has not given me that exact number, right? But to me, it's about building those relationships in all corners of the earth, that we can just spread his word across the globe and really transform the workplace. And so, that's kind of the near term of how do we reach more places and more people, and figure out, right, language barriers and translations and all those things, right, that come with that. But again, this is an opportunity for me to learn what's next from God, right? Connect with people all over, that who knows what that future business or what the future BBT will look like, in 5, 10, 15 years. Because I know that in nonprofits, right, you do need to, we jokingly say we're like a startup every year, right? That there's always something new with technology or with reaching people or with how we use our social media campaign, that we always have to be innovative and think outside the box.
Mm.
Not that nonprofits don't think that way, but we're really born in a business setting, and so how do we keep that movement and that growth going? And how do we keep reaching? How do we stay on trend to connect with people and use technology to our benefit to reach across the world and serve our people? And so, again, there's no one, here's what you're going to be doing in 5 years, or here's this number of groups here, but it's how do we keep serving more and reaching further and, having great conversations with people like you halfway across the world.
Wow. Thanks a lot for sharing that. And I wish that God will give you the strength, the support, and the wisdom to get BBT to the next level that you plan to do. Okay. And I'm sure it's going to happen.
Thank you. Yeah.
And so,
trusting God, right?
yes. And using his wisdom apply not only at work, at home also, right? So it's beautiful. Yeah. Lori, thanks a lot for the chance to connect. I really love to meet you and your husband and your family in person one day. So if the next trip we travel to America, I'll make sure that we go to pay you a visit.
I would love that. That'd be wonderful.
And if you travel, make sure you put Vietnam to your bucket list, please. All right. So, we meet for some reason. It's a God's arrangement. So absolutely, I would love to respond to that calling and give you guys a big hug.
Well, and it sounds like I need to do travel like your wife does, of Australia and all the different places along the way, and just hit them all, right?
Yeah. Hey, Lori, I want to say thank you again for spending your time joining and share your amazing story to our audience. And I would love to connect more often. I'll see you tomorrow for the event, right? And in the upcoming future, if you have any exciting events that you want to share with us in advance, I would love to share that in my community also. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, I would love that. Thank you for this opportunity, and I've enjoyed getting to know you, and I'm excited to hear more, from your audience. And I definitely want to stay connected more often.
Yes. Make sure you ask Brandon the question. Brandon,
yes, I will. Thank you for that. It's funny when you have someone ask you a question like that, and you're like, I never thought about that. And so, it's definitely, I'll ask him tomorrow if I see him. We share office space. So his for-profit company and us as a nonprofit, we share office space. And so it's fantastic that I get to see our founder and a lot of our board members on a regular basis. So it's truly a blessing.
Okay. Yes. I need to go now, Lori, and I need to let you go also. It's late over there already, right? So say hello to your family and then give them a big hug for us. Okay?
Yes, for sure. Bye. Blessings. Thank you.
Blessing. Bye.
Bye-bye.